Hello, hello, Marcus. Sorry, I don't know if I disappeared there for a second. I was trying to add a link. Now, just trying to invite our guest today. Cannot find them. One moment. One moment, please. Bom, somos só nós mesmo, né? Então acho que dá pra falar em português. Por que eu não tô achando, cara? Hello, hello, everyone. Just give me a moment. I'm trying to invite our guest today, but we're just having a slight technical issue. You're gonna try to join. Today's gonna be in English, okay, guys? All right. I have sent the invitation. Manoj. Let's see if it works now.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go. Thanks for the
Yay.
patience, everyone. For some reason, I could not find you on the list. I don't know if it's because it's
Yeah.
a business account. I don't know,
No,
but
it could be. Yeah. And you
yeah,
can hear me okay, right? Then you can hear me
yes,
okay. Yeah, perfect. Okay.
it's
Good.
perfect.
Great. Yeah.
I'm so happy that you joined, guys. We'll tell you. I'll tell you this.
Okay.
We'll talk about the story about how we met soon.
Sure.
Okay, we'll understand why I'm so excited very soon. But first of all, thank you very much for whoever's here already for joining. Thanks for. I think we're gonna have a very good chat here and something that we can hopefully repurpose in the future and answer some questions. I think for anyone now and in posterity who might not know me, I think I just like to introduce myself. My name is Andre. I'm a longevity coach and I work with longevity. Um, and I have since what really got me into this was a diagnosis a few years ago. I don't know. I don't know if you knew that, Manoj, but that's what kind of got me started into the topic. I started studying, doing my fair bit of studying certifications and so on, and here I am today. And as a Berliner who lives in Prenzlauer Berg, I was strolling through a market one day, a local market that I really enjoy. And if you follow me, you see that I generally post about that market. I saw a stand with a very interesting guy and product there. And this is how we actually met. Why don't you introduce yourself, Manoj, and let everyone know what you do and how we came to meet?
Sure. Yeah. Well, thank you, Andre. And sorry that the whole technical setup did not work initially, but I'm glad to be here. Well, okay, what I do is, and well, before that, I think what I find fascinating is because we met, I think, roughly, I would say a month ago, like somewhere beginning
Probably a
of
month ago,
June.
yeah.
Yeah, it was like this windy day at in Prenzlauer Berg, Mitte. And yeah, yeah, I think everything was going a bit chaotic in the market because usually that what happens at market stands when you're doing it all on your own. And I was glad that Andre came along, and he was one of the people that I know. Still remember, even if you're not doing it today, because he asked me so many questions, and he was, yeah, and he really wanted to know what I do and about the products, which is fascinating because sometimes you're just selling the product and people are buying it. But I think um, what intrigued me was that because you're really curious about what I'm doing and why am I doing this thing, this business, and yeah, you finally bought like a packet of like the lentils, and 2 weeks after you came back and you said like, okay, you weren't really sure like if you cooked it right, and I was like, oh yeah, as in, we talked about this thing, but I think this is the fun part about the products as well, because sometimes you have the description, but still it takes time and it takes a bit more effort to actually, yeah, cook it the right way, or so yeah. So yeah, I still remember like how you did, and for me, just like it is a positive feedback, and I think that's something. And then a week later, you asked me like you want to do this Instagram live, so I'm glad we're doing it. Sorry, long long stretch on this thing, but yes, what I do, I do work with small scale farmers back in India, and I bring old or heritage grains sourced directly from these small scale farmers all the way. So I'm doing the whole supply chain, directly sourcing it, bringing it over to Germany, and then selling it retail and wholesale. So yeah, for me, it was important that I knew where the products were coming from, the quality of the products, and markets I get to meet fabulous customers like Andre. So yeah.
And that's it. I mean, everything evolved very quickly. Our relationship, I'd say, and precisely
Yeah.
because of that. Because, and I think I'll introduce the topic of today's talk, which I was framing as eating for longevity, right? And when it comes to eating for longevity, eating for health, we're talking about food quality, right? And that's why I'm always searching for quality food alternatives, stuff that nurtures your body. And when I saw your stand, I was really curious because you could see that it was you're going to talk more about that, but locally sourced, organic, and the whole presentation was really appealing, right? So I think to get us started, I think that's what I wanted to start with actually. Just breaking down that food is more than just filling your belly. Food is actually uh, something that has to nurture your body. And by nurturing your body, I mean giving your body what it needs to function well. And that's a mix of things, right? We can break down food into the normal macronutrients, carbohydrates, proteins, fats. Everyone has heard about those. But those are important. They are very important. But without micronutrients, the minerals, the vitamins, nothing really works as it should, right? Our bodies are complex and they need all of those things combined in order to function as they should. And those products or those components, those compounds, they only come from, or especially from whole foods, which is what you're selling, right? We can have all of the snacks that we want. We can have all the ultra processed food, but the more you process a food, the more you remove all of those things that your body needs. So food is more than just eating. Food is actually giving your body what it needs, right? And I wanted to come to this point because I was going to your website a few days ago, and I saw that you sell mostly three types of products, right? It's the rice, the lentils, and
The millet. Yeah.
yeah.
The little millet. Yeah. Mhm.
And for each one of them, you highlight one specific characteristic that I wanted to bring up because they are very important for all that proper eating that we are just discussing. Fiber, protein, and items with a lower glycemic index. Would you want to explain a little bit more about why those are important for people?
Sure. I think what we, yeah, then in terms of processed food, what we do, sort of like, as you said, right, like for me, it is important that I sort of like source and bring in the raw products, the basics of like, from there, people can actually derive more out of it. So, and that is like the purpose of my business as well, to bring in to go down to the basics and make sure you source the right products. So while I was for me, initial intention was actually bring in the red rice that I have. So I knew that, like India, for example, is like going through a epidemic of diabetics, and it is a huge issue. And also, like I think India and Brazil are one of the countries having impacted by the diabetics epidemic, so to say. And for me, so I knew that the red rice, it's very less consumed in throughout of India, but more in the south part of India. And the red rice, because it's an unpolished raw rice and has a lot of like full bran in it. So and the rice is one of the products consumed in the larger population of our world, and it's also a bigger source of carbohydrates, and carbohydrates sort of like spike the blood sugar level, and it's sort of like gauged by this glycemic index. So mostly rice have around 80 to 90% when you test it, around 80 to 90%. And the red rices of whole grain rice are the ones sort of like have a lower glycemic index. So, for example, this rice I have, it's called the Kuruva red rice. We tested it, and it has around 54.5%. That's the glycemic index. So
Much lower.
it's yeah, much lower. And there's like another variety which has almost like around 40%. So, so these are the two rices that you have. Like, it's, I wouldn't say it would heal any kind of disease, but I think it's something like to help. So if you like really feel like you're more like you enjoy eating rice, is one of the alternatives you have. So in terms of the red rice, and the other thing is that like I'm also bringing a heritage or heirloom grains. So these are sort of like untouched by the industry, wherein they're sort of making sure like they are either GMO or so these are like the raw sources. They've been cultivated for thousands of years, and hence the lentils that I have, the kulti lentils, have the highest protein level in all lentil varieties or legumes. Mostly lentils have around 10 to 12% protein. These lentils have around 22 to 23% protein in it, which is like uncommon in the whole legumes. That primarily because they are all varieties. And yeah, and for me, just like for me, like I knew about like the nutrient value of this thing, but I never knew that they were so high in terms of protein, vitamins, and also iron content. So yeah, so that's because we get to lab test all these products. So I do that each time, each batch gets tested. So it's not just to check the quality; it's also to give a feedback back to the farmers, because we are impacted by the social, by the environment. So each time is a bit different in terms of like how they are grown. So this information of like testing is like a feedback to the farmers to say that, okay, you grew this batch and that's what the quality is. Like, what can we do better, or how can we grow it
Yeah,
differently? So yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And I would love to learn a little bit more how that testing
yeah,
goes, just out of curiosity. That's one of the
sure,
things that I had highlighted to you before, because
yeah, yeah,
I didn't know, right? But before we do, I just wanted to mention a couple of things about what you just said, right? So I think it's what you said. I come from Brazil, right? So I do know, and I know how diabetes. I had a family member who had diabetes. My own story started with a pre-diabetes diagnosis I was mentioning.
mm,
So this is very, very interesting and important to me. And I think that most people are still relatively, and I don't want to use that word in a negative light. It's just, well, uh, I cannot think of another word right now. Like, more uneducated in that sense. They don't really know the impacts that food can have on their health. They might have heard, for example, that unfortunately carbs are the enemy. Carbs are not good. But the thing is, carbohydrates are one macronutrient, like we discussed, that is important for life. Now, how you handle that carbohydrate, how you eat that carbohydrate, the quality of that carbohydrate makes all the difference. And that's basically what the glycemic index means, right? First of all, if it's whole rice, whole grain, it means that it comes with more of the nutrients. And it's basically, the glycemic index means that, for those who don't know, that it turns into sugar more slowly in your body, which means that your body doesn't have to build such a strong or fast insulin response, which means that you might not have such an energy crash later on, and it's more friendly to your to how your body can process and absorb that glucose from your body, and then decreases the risk of, for example, developing further down the line diseases like diabetes type 2, right? So it is important to have that. And protein coming from a vegetable source is also very important, especially for those who have dietary restrictions, for people who don't want to eat meat. So all of that is really important. Not to mention fiber, which is what you said. Those are fiber-rich components, and fiber is essential to feed the gut microbiome, right? And I just did a couple of lives on that. I think I posted about that in my, I think that's on my feed. So if you want to learn more about that, people can go check. But basically, all of those things are what I mentioned. They are vital pieces that feed your body what it needs, right? And
Absolutely.
by eating products like yours, I'm saying all of this just to wrap up by saying that uh, by eating products like yours with lower glycemic index, high in fiber, high in protein, people are going to be getting a healthier metabolic response, even if they don't know all of that, even if they don't really know what they're doing, right? So instead of eating just plain white rice, if they eat your rice, they are going to be doing good to their metabolic health, even if they don't know it. Even and knowledge is very important for you to empower your choices more and more in the future. But your kind of product, and this is one of the reasons why I enjoyed it so much, is that it helps even if people still don't really know the importance behind what they're eating, right? And then it comes in terms of quality, because quality is important not only because of that, but because of all of what you said, being organic and preventing and not having all of pesticide and xenophobics added to the mix is very important, right? So I'd love to hear a bit more about that. Then, how important the sourcing is for you. Just a little bit more. You have briefly mentioned already, but
Yeah.
and then one step further, how doing all of that fosters a healthier local community in the region, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, as I said, initially I said that I was like wanted to get these the red rices I knew that is not really available, commonly available within Europe or within Germany. So for me, the key source is like I knew local farmers who were growing these rices, this variety of rice, and for me that was like, and we had like a sourcing partner who sort of like connected me with these young couple who they were in the mid 30s. They are they are in the mid 30s. So who are growing the kurva red rice that I have. And they sort of connected me later to this the indigenous women collective in Tamil Nadu, Tamil Nadu, which is a neighboring state of Kerala, south of India. So yeah, and they are like a small collective growing all organically these lentils and millet. They're like around 700 little farmers, and for me, it is important that I get to know who is growing these products and how they're growing it. So that is for me the first touch point to actually know, okay, are they growing it, and are they growing it organically, and also getting to know the farmers, like how they're doing this thing. So, and that sort of layer you sort of miss out on most products. So that's something I wanted to establish and bring about. That gives you a lot of sort of like a personal guarantee, and then it comes the next step is basically testing the products, right? Just to know that okay. Are they really that organic, or are they in terms of quality? So yeah, so I think I'm quite privileged or blessed enough to actually find these farmers and find these communities who are growing these products. So I start from there, and it's also like, as I said, like it's a lot of risk for these farmers to actually grow these products the way they're growing it, because they are growing it regeneratively, which is important not just for the quality of the product but also for the land, right? Because end of the day they want to make sure that the land is enriched enough to actually produce a quality of products that you have
Yeah.
right now. So and of course these products are when you say locally, it's not grown within Europe or within Germany. They're actually in thousands of miles away in south of India, in small indigenous locations. So, and for these communities, very important because it takes a lot of effort to grow the quality of these products in a way, because of course mass production is much more easier, and these products don't really produce the quantity as much as like large scale or large production places. So and their livelihoods depends on this thing, but at the same time they also enjoy the whole process, right? And it's hard to find markets within India because the price of these products are quite high. So like it's great to actually get them, bring it over where to international markets where you see there's like a demand or understanding for it a bit more better than basically because and more than in India. So once you know that there's a demand for it, then these farmers can grow a lot more or different varieties.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah. It
yeah.
makes a
If I
huge
answered the question, yeah,
difference. Yeah, yeah. Like you
yeah,
said,
yeah,
for the region
yeah.
and for the people consume on the consuming end, let's say, because also all of those pesticides and xenophobics, like I was mentioning, are terrible for health long term, right? Some of the products that people use to preserve food or to do all of that, they are obesogens. They can mess up with your metabolic health. So for me, also to be able to find here in Germany such a locally sourced organic product from you is like, yeah, I loved it. I really loved it. And I think most than that, one of the things that for me is really important, and that's a sort of a prejudice that I try to break whenever I'm talking to people in general in my account,
Yeah.
is just to show that um, good food or nutrition doesn't have to be boring, right? Because when we talk, I don't even like to use the word diet, because when you say diet, people already think of that heavy thing, restrictions, and something that is burdensome. But I think when you choose dietary patterns, and there are different dietary patterns, and you can choose what you want, even vegetarian or vegan, when they see that they can have tasty food, organic, with enough protein for them to fill their macros and all of that. I think it just shows that good food, whole food, can be a part of a nutritious diet, and you don't need all of the pesticides and all of that that kind of ruin the whole experience. And it does. Good
Mm.
food can be tasty, whole food can be tasty. It doesn't have to be ultra processed or anything like that. And I really like that.
Yeah.
Uh, and now I think before we move on to the last topic that I had selected for this, I just wanted to learn more, like I mentioned, about the whole testing experience. How does testing for macronutrients, like I said, happen? How does that work?
Yeah. As in most products, basically, as in any food product coming to EU, EU has higher standards in terms of like what products and quality of the products that comes in, as in much more restrictive than the products that go ships to the States. For example, like all products get tested for for example, the rice gets tested for arsenic. It's one of the key ingredient or key issue with rice, because rice grows in irrigated lands, and the lands are filled with pesticides, right? And so it's basically arsenic is something that grows. It's actually in the land, in the soil. So that sort of like gets into the grain. So and especially white rice, what happens is that they take a lot of the barn outside, like they polish the grain. So the most of the arsenic, I'm just talking about one this rice varieties, right? So
Yeah,
arsenic is basically gets if the more you test it, like when you test it like a raw rice, unpolished white rice, it'll be very high on arsenic because all the arsenic sort of like grabs into the barn. So hence, the white rice are being more produced because they take the barn out and the arsenic is lower. So the risk with the red rice that I have, that they are raw rices, so there's more barn in it. So and that means they can get tested high for arsenic. So that is like one of my concerns as well, because I want to make sure that the quality of the rice has low arsenic in EU. The level is around I think the scales are 1% of arsenic is allowed. And this rice, when I tested, is 0.10, so like 0.01% is arsenic is in there in this, which is fantastic for a quality of rice because in EU levels is 1, and USA is around 3. Um, and I'm getting a product which just has 0.10 percent of arsenic in it. And it's hard to get rid of arsenic because actually it's in the land. It takes years to make
Yeah.
sure, train the land to make sure we get arsenic out. So yeah, so that's one of the things. And the other one is like they also test for like EU requires a basic testing, which is like very minimal. So for me, it is important that I do the whole range. So it's like each testing costs around each time it costs me for each product around 3,000 euros. Just to test one batch of a product, right? So that test like an it's quite comprehensive. It doesn't just test the big five, which is like the protein, carbohydrates, fats, and salt in it, but it tests for all pesticides, all metals that possibly can impact. So and that's something. Again, as I said, like it's also like a feedback giving back to the farmers to know that hey, this is the quality of the product, so they actually know what fertilizers to use and when to irrigate or when to how to take care of the plant itself. So yeah, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I had never been in touch with anyone doing those type of testing, so it was always very so it was very curious to me when we started talking about that
Yeah,
on one
yeah,
of our meets.
yeah,
And I think the last thing that I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to hear your perspective on an additional side of eating for longevity, so to say, because here we have talked about already macronutrients and why all of those nutrients are important for the proper functioning of our bodies, why quality matters as well, and now something I step beyond for me would be the power of, let's say, conscious eating, right? So eating as an act not only of you chewing on food, but actually making that an experience, which ties to what I just said about uh, having a whole diet means as well being there when you're eating, tasting the food. Because that's important for longevity as well. When you're there, when you're not busy watching your phone or anything like that, you pay more attention to satiety signals. So you tend to overeat less or you don't overeat. You can pay attention to the flavor. You're present there. You're enjoying your meal, and that is also something that accounts a lot for longevity. And I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that side of nutrition for longevity, let's say, but from the side of the producer.
Yeah, it's a very good because I think for me like I care. I think for me like when I started the business, for me it was like important to care towards a conscious consumers, people who are like really thinking like about okay, these are the raw products I consume it like we consume on a daily basis, so it's a part of your main diet, and to step back and say, I'm not just buying this package of rice. I'm also getting to know who produced it and what made it, the effort that goes behind producing it. It takes, again, as I said, it takes effort to actually think about these things because basically you just want to buy some products and cook them and fill your belly, so to speak. But take a step back, think about, as you said, like enjoying your meal because then our meals has a bit more meaning towards it than we sort of enjoy or probably being thankful to the person who actually grew this thing to making sure you get the quality of the product that you're having. So it's, at the end of the day it's a cycle, right? So I feel that that is also the effort. Like, hence, my packaging is also a bit more enhanced. A lot of people said, "Okay, you put a lot of effort into the packaging." For me, it's like, yes, I make an effort into the packaging because I want to make sure the farmers who did the work, did the hard work. I'm basically a middle person selling these products, so their work is getting highlighted or seen in a different light. So those are the little things that went into like when I was doing this business. So at the same time, then people can say, okay, I bought, so to say, a more expensive rice, and you would enjoy this rice not just on a daily, but probably you'd enjoy this rice on a special occasion. So that makes it a bit more special. Yeah, 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 enjoyable. Yeah,
Yeah. No,
yeah.
that's great. And I mean, I just have some final remarks. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to write them down here. We can address them in the last few minutes of our conversation here. I just wanted to kind of, at least from my end, wrap this up saying that nutrition is multifaceted. It goes beyond just the act of eating, right? And knowledge for me is what sets apart people who are investing in exploring their longevity and those who aren't, right? For me, it's super important to know where the food comes from, to have the highest quality food because. Eventually that's the I think for me that's even an act of self-love, right? When you're giving yourself what you need, high quality stuff. And by high quality I mean, yeah, the nutrients, the story behind it, the opportunity that you give yourself to eat and taste that food that you put a lot of effort into buying, finding, cooking, right? I think all of this makes this complete experience that is nutrition for longevity. And I really appreciate your participation here. I hope that was also relevant to you. And if you have any final thoughts here, please feel free. Tell people how they can find you. I mean, they can find you through your Instagram account here, but please feel free to
Sure. Yeah.
share your final thoughts.
Plug my bits of business. And then yeah, sure. Then yeah, the business is like it's an e-commerce. It's online. So Ma.Deli is my website where you can actually buy the products. So I'm starting with just with three products, which is the rice, lentils, and millet. You can always find me like yeah. Also, of course, drop me a message or DM me on Instagram, which is here or Berlin markets, and also like places like I think us products are also at KaDeWe. So yeah, that is like one of the places in within Berlin. So it's a small business. It's kind of like a one man show, but I'm glad it's a slow process. So I'm glad I get to do this thing what I'm doing now, and I'm getting to meet people like you, Andre. So that's the benefits of doing this,
Yeah.
doing what I'm doing now. Yeah.
All right. So if you have no questions here, I would like to appreciate everyone who joined, who could only join for a second. And most of all, you, Manoj, for accepting this invitation, even though we had just met like a couple of weeks prior. I really appreciate your time. I really like what you're doing. And I think it's really in line with what I believe nutrition for better health encapsulates. So thank you very much. We'll
Thank
probably see
you.
each other this Saturday.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's see.
All
Let's do
right.
that. Yeah, all right. Take care. Thank you, Andre. Yeah,
Bye,
ciao,
everyone.
ciao. Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.